Hey everyone, it's Craig. Before we get into the show, I'd like to thank everyone for listening, especially our Patreon supporters. For those of you who haven't checked out our Patreon offerings, please go to patreon.com/Katya and Craig. And there you'll see that we have bonus episodes of many kinds, including regular bonus episodes and then the listener questions episodes, and now a new thing that we have called Katya and Craig's Movie Club. Yes, Katya and Craig's Movie Club. Anyway, thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
A Russian ballerina, stomping on a bureaucrat, a perky suburban housewife who just got into scat. It's whimsically volatile.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, the inimitable, the incomparable, the dazzlingly stupendous talents of none other than the often duplicated but never replicated Australian thunder from down under. She is and was and will always remain to be runner-up on Season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race and winner of Celebrity Big Brother UK edition, as well as multi-international universal touring artiste and cabaret sensation, the delightfully lithe, nubile, and very white woman, thing, singer, songstress, and entertainer, Courtney Act.
Was that good?
That was amazing. Were you channeling a collective consciousness just then? Have you crossed over?
I've crossed over. Ya cunt.
Are you keen?
You know what? It took me 7 years of living in this country, the United States of America, to learn that being Australian and having an Australian accent was something that I should lean into. So throughout this interview, I'm going to talk real Australian.
Bogan.
Yeah.
Bogan. Here we go. Okay, Courtney has reclined on the couch, and I am digitally massaging her very disgusting hooves.
Phalanges.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's fingers.
That's
what are
fingers,
feet called?
Metatarsals.
Metatarsos? Metacarpals?
Metacarpals up top. Tarsals and metatarsals. And we got I forget what the ankle bone is called.
At the ankle bone.
The ankle bone, yes.
This is your gastrocnemius.
It sure is, maybe.
This is your patella.
Patella, we got a tibia, we got a fibula. Yeah, we got an Achilles right down here. Now, if I take my little buck knife and slice this open, then I noticed that Courtney had unzipped her jean shorts.
They're buttons.
Oh, but I had unbuttoned her jean shorts and is sporting a very nice semi-chub.
I'm
just kidding.
I love a fictional narrative.
Oh.
No, I've reclined on the couch because I feel like, I live in Los Angeles, sort of, and therapy is a very big thing here, and I'm just going to treat this as one big long therapy session with an unqualified professional.
Excuse me? You must be talking about Craig.
I don't take offense at that because I understand that you are dealing with a lot of trauma, especially coming home to find...
No, not really. I'm pretty privileged and white and lucky.
Yes, but still, that does not exempt you from the feelings one must have after coming home to discover that one's domicile has been befouled
by shit
in many situations. And not only that, a shitty glass dildo that had shattered.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about the shitty glass dildo.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it didn't shatter you inside you, did it?
No.
Oh, that would. Have you seen glassass.com?
You know what? I'd rather not.
Is there shattering in that?
It's a glass jar.
I don't even want to talk about it. That is so gnarly.
I watched it all the way to the end.
So did I.
It took me like 8 years to get there.
No, I did too. And it is, I actually have a visceral response. My rectum just literally clenches.
Which is not what you want to do when you have a broken glass jar inside you.
No.
Sometimes the body's counterintuitive.
That's true. Well, you have the fight, flight, and then the
shatter.
Freeze. Yeah, and the shatter response.
And then the shit in someone's bed response.
Yeah, so
Should we talk about that? Should we unpack that?
Let's unpack it.
Let's unpack that one,
Let's unfudge pack it.
Sometimes friends shit in your bed.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Is
So
it
you're okay with it?
Have you processed the full depth and breadth of this shame?
You have to accept your reality as it is, not as you want it to be.
Wow, that's wise. Are you a wise guy?
Very philosophical, I have to say.
No, but I mean, you shat in my bed. These
did.
things happen.
It does,
It was
yeah.
an accident. She didn't intentionally take a steaming hot turd in my bed, did you?
Well, let me
Did you?
tell you one thing. It was definitely not a turd.
not a
a
single
fucking.
turd.
It was a
Liquid form.
barrel of fucking nasty, like chunky diarrhea shit. All right.
It was an onslaught. It was a torrential.
It was
Downpour.
Mudslide.
It was a mudslide.
Yeah.
It was like a holiday in what's that place in Mexico where you drink mudslides?
Krakatoa.
Caribou.
Caribou
Cancun.
Island. Cancun. Yeah,
Cancun.
Caribou Island.
It was like a Cancun mudslide.
Yeah. It was awful. And then after that, during the intestinal drama, I had inserted a glass dildo at my butt and then taken it out, and my hands were all slippery with lubricant, and so it fell on the bathroom floor and shattered into a million pieces.
Oh,
And there was
a million little pieces.
a million little. Yeah, I James fried it, yeah, or whatever. James fried it, and then it was not embarrassing to me. No.
Why should it
happens.
be?
No,
Shit happens.
it does.
That's
and then
right. It was happening a lot at the time.
it was happening a lot. I mean, I cleaned it up I just grabbed some tissues and then got the chunky bits and then put them in the trash, but I didn't vacuum.
The chunky bits of shitty glass.
The chunky bits of shitty glass.
Well, I have it. You know what? Sulema probably vacuumed or probably cut her feet open.
No, but I stayed in the apartment for days and days and days after it barefoot, and I didn't cut my feet, so we're fine.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yes, I No, there's nothing I want to talk about.
I'm getting reflexology right now.
Yeah. Wait, so do you do therapy? Have you been to a therapist before? Yeah.
I've been to therapy. I go to therapy usually after I have a traumatic experience, like being on a competition reality TV show or breaking up with a boyfriend.
Okay.
So you've been to therapy at least 3 times.
And you're probably sick. Are you sick and tired of talking about Drag Race? Are you over it?
I'm over it in the sense that the tensions that I created from my experience there are now no longer binding me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm free from it.
You're free.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, and I love it for what it is now.
Yeah. And what is it?
It's an amazing opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing experience. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a cultural phenomenon. Like, I used to sit there. I remember reading this book called Popism about by Andy Warhol, or was it about Andy Warhol? I think it was by Andy Warhol, about that era in New York City in the 90s, 80s, 60s, 80s. I mean, I skimmed it. I didn't really read it. No, I'm kidding.
You saw it online.
Yeah,
You
I read the blurb.
Amazon description.
There was people, and it was New York.
Yeah.
And
It was like something art, whatever, 15 minutes. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I was like, wow, I wonder when like the next queer cultural phenomenon is going to be, and like, how do I be a part of it? And then one day I sort of woke up and I was like, I think we're living in it.
Oh, yeah.
I think that RuPaul's Drag Race has changed the world.
yeah.
I think it was a part of the change the world is going through. Like Laverne Cox, the trans tipping point, Caitlyn Jenner on the front of Vanity Fair, among other things. And just the conversation about gender and sexuality and how it has just, not that drag experience is the same as trans experience, but obviously, you know, there is a gender spectrum, and the conversation in wider society and the understanding is something that it intersects at points. What was the question?
Do you like turtles?
No, that's the other one.
Yeah, that's the other white girl in your girl group.
Someone at the airport asked me if I was Willem the other day.
Oh my God.
I was out of drag, which is even more. And I was like, she's like, are you Willem? And I was just like, no, and kept walking. And then I was like, that's cruel. I was like, no, I'm Courtney. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, you are Courtney. I just love Drag Race. And I was like,
I was outside in Canada, outside smoking by like a dumpster or something before a gig, and a woman came up and was like, "Are you RuPaul?" And I said, "Yes, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you.
Wow.
You have a blessed day."
wow.
Are you RuPaul? I just love that RuPaul. She's so tall and pretty.
All you drag queens look the same
Yep. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a drag queen.
anymore.
I'm an artist.
Let's unpack that. Because
Yeah.
I wonder about the term like drag queen. I was just thinking about this today where I was talking about the way like in say like last night, right? I was out at the Abbey and I was chatting to a handsome heterosexual identifying man.
Oh, and were you in drags or not?
I was in drags.
Oh, you were in drags.
I was
now.
in-
Wait, hold the phone, Marty. Did you put on drags just to ensnare a gentleman, or were you working on a project?
I was working on a project.
Okay.
I had been in drags since 6:30 a.m. Chandra and I were shooting a thing for
Jesus
VH1.
Christ.
Then Tom Daly and I made some videos for the YouTube. Then I
cool.
went to Magnus Hastings' house and
my
shot
God.
one of his white box projects.
yeah.
Then Marco and I went on oh wow, it's a real who's that of West Hollywood, isn't it?
Wow,
Oh,
do you need
indeed.
a plate for all these names you're dropping, sweetie?
And then this is my life.
Yeah. Take it or leave
Yeah.
it. This is me. Accept me for who I am.
Take me for what I am.
Oh, God, please don't sing.
Then we went on a pub crawl, ended up at the Abbey. And this is the best part. I went out in what I would describe as lesbian drag
Oh,
for
God.
me. Like it was because Magnus and I were talking about like his white box project. And I was like, well, maybe I can do. Magnus and I did this great montage. Oh, I think it was great. It was a great montage. And it was 9 photos from Shane to Courtney.
Yeah, you have a T-shirt.
Yeah.
You have a T-shirt.
Before Blair St. Clair did a watered down knockoff.
Yeah, let's just, for the listeners at home, let's just all clarify the fact that Courtney did it first. Thank you very much.
And I'm sure somebody else did it before me.
Yeah, Jackie Beat invented it.
She invented drag. Big and bitter, covered in glitter. Yes, it's Jackie. It's really Jackie. But I just knocked my headphones off. I was just thrust back to reality.
Yeah.
Out of studio world, out of the podcast.
Shocking, horrifying.
Horrifying.
Magnus. And so we're playing around with ideas about like maybe Courtney wearing Shane's clothes and Shane wearing Courtney's clothes, or Shane and Courtney so we're just playing around with different things. So I had like on these like black boys shoes that I bought and a black pair of trousers that were like rolled up, and I had like a mesh vest tucked in and then like this silver jacket on top. And it was kind of like, it was really like empowering, because the shoes were comfortable and I was in drag, and I felt like really like
Butch.
kinda like Ruby Rose is like this glamorous woman who also embodies masculinity as a woman and is kind of like sexifies it. And I kind of felt like sexy in this like natural kind of
Tomboy.
tomboy drag tomboy
Yeah.
way. And I was like, I'm going to go out like this. Meanwhile, I had like my hair snatched back and my longest ponytail. I was Courtney from the neck up.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't know,
Awful from the
something
neck down.
else from the neck down. And so I was chatting to this heterosexual identifying boy at the bar, and I thought,
And he was at the Abbey?
there's lots of heterosexual identifying men at the Abbey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, in that instance, and we were flirting. In that instance, I believe I was trans-perceived, trans-adjacent.
Okay, sure.
And it's interesting because a part of like the term drag queen, right, is about probably like more the performative aspect of what I do as Courtney. But then like for me, when I'm wearing clothes and I'm out at a bar, I'm still like me, just wearing different clothes. I mean, we're all born naked and the rest is drag. I was like, I don't know if I feel like I've used this term like gender fluid and gender queer. And I think people think that when I put on Courtney's clothes, I become a different gender and that's how it works. But it's more like there's Courtney, there's Shane, there's like me who doesn't really feel the need to like be a man or a woman.
Yeah. So we're like defined as Shane or Courtney?
Yeah, but then sometimes I wear boys' clothes, sometimes I wear girls' clothes. The other day I said, I was dressed as a boy, and someone was like, that's a weird thing to say. And I was like, well, I feel like I was dressed as a boy. Like I just put on clothes that...
Well, you put on little whatever you call this, an outfit.
An ensemble.
But then you get at the boys section at, Target Kids or whatever.
Oshkosh bagosh.
Yeah. You put on a pair of dungarees and you're a dude. Yeah. I mean, you're... Right. Okay. Sorry, continue.
Well, no, I just like when you...
You don't get hung up on identification.
No, and when you jokingly said I'm an artist, not a drag queen.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. And sometimes I find, I don't know, I'm confused at the moment about whether... and you rolled your eyes yesterday when I played you this comment, but
he was doing a lot of that in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
By the way, I told him something sweet my mother said to me, and he was like, "Oh Christ!"
You were so self-righteous. You're like, I've heard it all before.
Well, I have.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was watching.
It doesn't mean it's any less real for the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
You cunt.
You rotted.
Rack off, you dog-ass mole.
Yeah, that's the Courtney I love.
Yeah.
Artist, activist,
and cunt.
Woman, and most of all, a child clothed wearing rotted skunk sniffing wood chip spewing piece of shit. I'm just kidding.
No, I think the spewing piece of shit.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I think that was your asshole. Like that, Mary. Don't project.
Yeah,
child.
I love to project. Go ahead, continue.
I was watching Nanette on Netflix, which is a stand-up comedy special by an Australian comedian called Hannah Gadsby. And in it, she says that she is quitting comedy because comedy is self-deprecation, and self-deprecation is not humility, it's humiliation. And as a person who exists in the fringe, to put yourself down in order to allow yourself to have a voice is not something she's longer willing to do to herself or to those people in her community.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, oh, wow. And I've gone through this experience recently where I've been given a platform from Celebrity Big Brother to be no longer taken as a joke.
Yeah, I completely understand 100% what you're saying. 100% what you're saying, because I went through the same thing recently too, where I was at a sensitive period, and I was like, you know what? I actually cannot joke about being a piece of shit. Because I'm not a piece of shit.
Right.
And if you're in a sensitive place and your things are up in the air, or things are undefined, or things are not steady or stable or whatever, you're not confident or whatever. Yeah, like constantly stabbing a metaphorical knife into your gut is not very productive. And also it's not very productive for people who are identifying with you.
Yeah. And it's not that I'm at all incapable or unwilling to laugh at myself, because I completely am.
You very much so are.
But it was just really fascinating, where I was like, I've been finding myself sitting on like 2-hour, current affairs and politics panels in the UK and Australia, being asked my opinion on like Brexit and the national healthcare system in drag on morning television without irony.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's a whole different context.
It's just, my
It's crazy.
mind boggles.
Yeah.
It's brilliant and wonderful. And it's odd because that in and of itself, I think, is subversive.
Sure.
Yet it almost goes without notice because of my passing privilege, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I'll say this without rolling my eyes. You're extremely beautiful. And on television, girl, it's just whoever's pretty.
Yeah. Well, not on British television, which is really
they got
nice.
a bunch of dogs on there. It's a dog show.
You don't have to be beautiful to be on British television.
Oh, that's cool.
It's actually cool.
That's great.
It's
Especially on the news
revolutionary.
programs, right?
Yeah, but even on like light entertainment, anything.
Okay.
Actors, entertainment, comedians, commentators, all artists, they could just look like human beings. They can be tall or short or fat or thin or black or white or have busted teeth or busted anything.
Well, they all have busted teeth.
Yeah, which is nice because it says you don't have to be beautiful to be valuable, which is lovely for a pretty white girl to say, but
Yeah, says the woman. Says the girl who's like objectively gorgeous at both in and out of drag under any circumstances, context, lighting, or equipment with any conceivable article of clothing either on or around her.
somebody had to say it.
Guys, no, listen. I just need all y'all to know out there, you don't have to be pretty to be beautiful. Yeah, spoken like a true... No, I'm just kidding. No.
Narcissist.
Yeah. No, well, come on. I mean, we wouldn't be doing a podcast if we weren't narcissists.
Or a podcast.
A podcast, yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah.
A little bit narcissistic.
Wait, can
There's
I...
a
Wait.
There's a picture in an attic somewhere that
Wait.
looks real ugly.
I have to speaking of narcissism, I have to interrupt you.
You're checking the likes on your selfie again?
No, I have to interrupt you, Courtney, because I want to do a dramatic reading of one of the songs that you wrote.
Well, do let me get the appropriate background.
Yes, would you please pull it up? Sorry,
Can I introduce the song, or are you going to do that?
No,
I know what it is.
No, you don't. Shut up.
Only I know it.
So this is a very oh gosh, I tear up every time.
I really want a zig a zig
Sorry, I sprung that on you, Craig, without any
No, not
intro.
at all. We like to move on the fly. It's
Yes,
very
we do.
exciting. It adds to the podcast.
And this is
Are you ready?
yeah.
The sun is up, and I'm coming down. It's been a while, but I'm burning out. Flipping my fingers on the 5-inch screen. Novocaine pictures comfortably numb to the scene. I'll let you see the good if you know me. I'll show you all the bad if you love me. But oh, only I know the ugly. I'll let you see the good if you know me. I'll show you all the bad if you love me. I paint pretty on my face, but I'll fight, scream, I'll misbehave. Got secrets you won't see on stage, and that's what you call beautiful. I paint pretty on my face, but I'll fight, scream, I'll misbehave.
How you like that one? Is
I
that
like
good?
that.
I have to wipe a tear from my eye.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
very good. So she, Courtney had the gall, the audacity, the nerve, and the verve
Oof.
to record a song
Yes.
called "Ugly."
It wasn't
dare
about
you.
superficial beauty.
I know.
That was the irony of the art.
irony of the art. So,
As an artist, you should know.
as an artist, let me explain her artistic vision.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's just that and this is something, of course, I think perhaps you might agree or agree to disagree with me. Something that I've gleaned and learned and observed in my personal experience living here in Los Angeles is that all the stereotypically or commonly assumed to be attractive people are all big fucking swirling god awful messes inside.
Which is why they look so pretty.
Yeah.
Because they're obviously this is a blanket generalization and
Let's
can't
get
apply
under the
to
blankets.
everybody.
Let's get under the covers.
Let's get under the covers. Courtney Act available. So insecurity can breed many things, and one of those things it can breed is an attachment to vanity and
Not just wigs by vanity.
not
though.
just wigs by vanity. No, I mean
Those are attached by usually tape, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
glue.
glue.
Forgive
I
me,
mean
I'm
the
learning.
deadly
Yeah.
sin
Yes,
vanity.
yes.
That a body that is objectively freakishly muscular and grotesquely perfect.
This adjective use is fabulous.
Yeah,
today.
this is a very good
You're the
adjective
queen of
show.
adjectives.
Well, no. I love this. It's like, excuse me, sir, I couldn't notice how grotesquely beautiful you're looking today.
And your obscene muscles
You're
bulging out so
obscene, yeah.
hideously.
Protruding so disastrously from that tight top.
Something has to drive the obsession.
Oh, yeah.
And often, not always, that obsession is driven by insecurity.
Sure.
And I always I wrote a song in 2000 and it came out just before Drag Race called Mean Gays.
Yes, that's right.
And it was all
I live
about
in West Hollywood.
It was all about the mean gays of West Hollywood who, are my friends. But I also observed in that perfect ultimate male aesthetic, the insecurity that I saw in myself.
Sure.
Which was growing up in a world, being socialized in a world that held masculinity, unrealistic beauty expectations at the pinnacle of society. And women understand it as well from beauty magazines and retouching and body image and models and runways. And men, particularly gay men, but now it's an epidemic sweeping all men in the Western world. Steroid use is up so high.
Oh, yes, it is.
But they're taking steroids, losing their hair, but then taking...
Just do a cycle. You hear that all the time. Just do a cycle.
And then
just do a cycle.
And then taking Propecia to stop the hair loss from the steroids you're taking, and then injecting the fake tan so you've got brown skin. Which
and then you got to also inject silicone into the scrotum because the balls shrink, and then you got to make the dick flop.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a rich tapestry.
And then there's also the party drugs that are probably going along with most of
G and
Miss Teen to Turn.
And then of course Truvada as PrEP.
Oh sure. Yeah.
It's it's a fascinating thing to observe, and I have been a part of that. I think the interesting thing is that I never got there. I never achieved my full aesthetic male potential because of the duality, I suppose, that exists in my identity of being Courtney Act as well.
Yeah.
Or at least for most of my 20s, I struggled with, do I want to look like the DNA cover model, or do I want to be am I a woman? Am I a trans woman?
Sure.
And I would really fight with it. And when I moved to West Hollywood, I was embraced and celebrated for my fishiness. Mm-hmm. In Australia, it was always not good enough. You're not trying hard enough.
Totally.
Interesting.
Really? Sharing needles with me would be like, oh, great. So you're going to just wear wing liner, you stupid bitch.
Yeah. And then I got to West Hollywood and I was wearing like my human hair wigs and my girly fashion dresses, and the mean gays loved me and we had a great time and I was celebrated. And I remember the trans questions in my mind, the box in the attic of my mind that had been put there and never sorted was rattling for my attention, and I had to call Vanity, my trusted friend, my best friend, my brother, my sister, and I said to her, I need to have a conversation with you, and I don't know how it ends, but I just need someone that I trust, that won't judge me, that I can listen to, because whilst I had these questions about am I a woman, I also had a lot of internalized transphobia.
Okay.
I had a lot of internalized homophobia, which I think stems from misogyny. And I talked to Vanity and I got to the end of the conversation and I realized that I didn't want to be a woman, but I loved being a woman and I loved being a boy. I can never quite bring myself to say man, because I don't feel like I've ever embodied being a man, because a man represents something that I don't feel that I am. But then boy also sounds like you've got some Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah, it also sounds like pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're Peter Geddon.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And it was kind of this thing where I got to the end and I was like, oh wow, I just really love expressing my femininity. And it's weird because at that moment I was relieved, because I was like, oh, then this is the internalized transphobia part where I was like, oh, I'm so thankful that I'm not a trans woman. And over the course, that was 2010, 11, over the course of time with Laverne Cox, Caitlyn Jenner, Janet Mock, Chaz Bono, the story and the conversation about the trans identity, my perception of being trans evolved.
Yeah.
And I realized that the trans women that I grew up with were ostracized, were othered, were self-identified as the T word and called the T word, which never felt like a word that was nice to me. Like whenever I said, oh, this is my friend Penny, she's a I don't even know if it's appropriate to say historically now. I'm not quite sure. But I would always be like, oh, that word doesn't quite feel like it doesn't feel like it was like the I don't know, it never quite sat right. And then over the course of the last sort of however many years, I've learnt that a trans person, I've been inspired and read books by Jenny Boylan and Kate Bornstein and Janet Mock and Chaz Bono and people that I know like Our Lady J and other like inspiring people on television and media, and I'm like, oh wow, the trans identity is
Yeah.
Trans people exist.
They exist. They're there. They've always been there.
They've always been there,
Yeah.
which is the fascinating thing. They've always been going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And there
They've
was
always
no
been trying to
problem.
protect themselves, always been trying to walk home safely, always been trying to find love and trying to do live a life. Mm-hmm.
And it was just like this revelation where through the telling of trans stories, I came to unpack my transphobia and therefore my internalized transphobia, and accept and understand trans people, and fascinatingly also myself. And it was through a conversation with Chaz Bono about gender and identification, where I described what I did in drag as, oh, it's just a job, like someone who works at Disneyland and dresses up as Mickey Mouse. That's not weird. I mean, that's a different species. Nobody thinks that's weird. And or like a police officer puts on a uniform, and Chaz was like, do you think that is the truth of the situation? Like, if you look at the style of aesthetic you have chosen, it's very real and passing, and you could have chosen any style of drag, but this is what you do. And the fact that I have sex with men in drag, I will socialize in drag. I don't just wake up in the morning and get into drag.
Yes, you do. I've seen it. I stay in your house. You have 13 vanity mirrors all around. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
But then normally I just stay in the house in drag and masturbate furiously in front of a mirror till I can't walk. That's not true.
Join the club.
Yeah, it was kind of this realization. And you know what? The term gender fluid and gender queer is what set me free. And Chaz sort of brought up those words and described what they meant. And I remember I was in New York City in my friend Lance's apartment. I was walking through the apartment, and I had it hit me. Not physically, just like I
wish it would have.
stopped. I pace when I talk on the phone, and I stopped in my tracks, and I was like, wait, you mean that there aren't only two options?
Right.
It's not just extreme masculinity or extreme femininity. You mean that a boy is allowed to possess feminine qualities, and that's okay, and that who they are isn't less than misogyny because they're possessing femininity?
What would you characterize, maybe not now, but at that time, what would you have characterized traits as being feminine? Like, how would you describe feminine traits?
Right. Yeah, because feminine is different to female and male, which is different to man and woman.
Right.
Femininity and masculinity. Well, I was probably more talking about physical traits because they're the ones people could see.
Sure. Okay.
But I think masculine is like direct and linear and strong, and a woman is like soft and compassionate and loving and things like that. And I think that like those qualities, I don't know, I was just taught that men had to be men. And I don't know whether that was growing up in Australia
Sounds awfully bogan to me.
Football and porno and books about war.
Yeah.
That's more American.
That's hot. Yeah, it sounds real cool.
Yeah, hot and cool. That's the way we like it. Yeah.
And it was just so weird that it took me like 33 years of my life to break out of a life of shame about who I am as my gender, I suppose. Like the queerness, the gayness, the sexuality part, that shame like was dealt with, I think, when I came out to my family, and I unpacked that through my 20s, but the gender shame stayed with me very strong until my 30s. And I've been doing drag for 18 years and known for it, and people know about it, but still putting on a dress brought me so much shame. And I think that drag queens, there's this whole thing about drag queens and boyfriends.
Sure.
And that I think being in West Hollywood and trying to like get these male Adonis, grotesquely
muscular.
Muscular.
Hideously beautiful.
Hideously beautiful. Roundly square.
But you said, so in your 30s, you're having discussed your gender. Now being in your 40s, how do you feel about
Rack off,
but
Mom.
frankly, but late 40s. I mean, I know you don't want to say specifically.
So has the shame, now being in your early 50s, has the shame kind of...
Go burn a cat, you cunt.
Yeah, can't.
Well, it's also interesting that, being in the world that you're in as a famous drag queen, known for your feminine appearance, known for your passability, that even then, right, and even with mixing with all the people like Chaz Bono and other pioneers, right, you still have that shame. So it's amazing because people take things for granted a lot in terms of our progress and everything, but you still had that struggle.
Yeah, I'm on the forefront of the gender conversation. I'm like the canary in the cage. If I'm having a hard time, everybody else has got to be fucked, haven't they? And you think about how gender isn't something that just applies to people who don't conform to the gender stereotypes, because men who, straight white men, they're probably burdened with the expectation of masculinity more than anybody.
The toxic mask of masculinity.
Yeah.
Can't you fix a flat tire? Can't you,
You can't, what? You can't lift that sofa by yourself? You fucking wussy, fucking pussy.
Boys
bitch.
don't cry.
Right. Well, I don't cry. I don't have any emotions, but that has nothing to do with my gender.
You frown and shit upon those who...
I shit on
Shit
them.
on them.
Yeah. And around their belongings.
That's why you shat in my bed, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to teach
I have
you a lesson.
emotions.
I heard Courtney's developing a very strong sense of her gender identity.
Yeah.
And it's bringing about some feelings. So what I think I'll do now is just pop this dildo out without my hands right onto the tile.
Yeah, I'm gonna
shatter
fling
it,
some shit in that fucking canary cage, the goddamn struggly bitch.
and then I'll break the vacuum.
And another thing, you replaced my lovely, purchased before I was a vegan, 70% duck down quilt with maybe Target, probably Amazon purchased synthetic poly-filled Dacron comforter. Not even microfiber, probably recycled plastic
Okay,
bag.
just
imagine,
for the record, ladies and gentlemen at home, the duvet thing of which Miss Act is currently speaking
Oh, was it already in the cupboard?
was fucking disgusting.
Mine?
Yours was so ugly.
Well, I thought
You mean
meant
the cover?
the cover.
I mean the contents.
Oh, I had
It was
to
befouled,
throw,
though,
I had
right?
to throw it away, Mom.
Yeah, you fouled it, right?
It was besmirched and befouled. It was so gnarly.
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered.
I had asked him if perhaps there'd be, because he said, "Oh, you have a Casper mattress," and I said, "Well, I think you'll be buying one for someone
.com.
very soon." Right?
Yeah, but you didn't. You know what?
I
If you have
didn't.
to ask the question, you already know the answer.
That's
and
right.
when you said to me, I think I need to buy a new mattress.
Yeah.
You had already answered the question.
Yeah, I didn't.
You don't think
I
of that
didn't.
unless
But
you
I've been
need to buy a new mattress.
I've been sleeping in it now, so it's too late and it's
No,
fine.
but I put a thing over it, and plus I really cleaned it good. Pillow top mattress can't flip it, but I sprayed the shit out of it with your stupid non-working vegan spray, which literally does not accomplish anything when human feces is involved. But
Is it
it's
like the natural deodorant?
No,
that
it's
you
like
really
rubbing
don't do
a
anything?
cucumber over it. It does not
sure.
do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
So
you know what you want to do with the cucumber?
stick it up my butt.
Won't smash when you drop it on the floor.
That's
true. Yeah.
that's true. And then a cucumber slices for the eyes.
But make
Perfect.
sure it's not refrigerated, because that shock could kill you. The coldness.
Are you, speaking of shock and killing and all that stuff, are you ambitious with your anus?
No, I would like to be more ambitious.
Yeah.
I was always a girly
Maybe something
top
for your
who
60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always a girly top who one day dreamed of being a butch bottom.
Oh, wait,
Oh, that's
hold
very
on. Hold that up.
interesting.
Hold up. A girly top. Describe. Okay. Yeah.
Like as a youth.
a ute.
A youth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bottoming didn't come naturally to me. I looked like your archetypal twink power bottom.
Of course, but can't judge a book by its covers,
No,
Courtney.
exactly.
But that's an interesting thing to get into, because a lot of people do
They
judge a book by
assume
Yeah.
that,
Twinks
Craig.
are bottom.
Craig, they
Katya,
assume.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying,
How
Katya.
dare you agree with me?
Katya, I'm trying to make this
But
conversation
it's true.
flow.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I
And
hate those.
I really loved, well, no, I definitely love topping And I definitely now love bottoming, but at the time, I definitely didn't love bottoming. I wasn't good at it. And I remember in maybe 2002 going to a gay resort in Cairns, which is in far north tropical Queensland, or F&Q, far north Queensland. It just sounds like a swear word.
FNQ. Oh,
FNQ.
I'm gonna go to F&Q.
You're going to FNQ, you fucking bitch.
And we I don't know why, but we somehow like had a gift voucher for $100 at a sex shop. And at the time, I was so uncomfortable with sex and sexuality that I was in there and I was like, excuse me. I'm a girly top who one day dreams of being a butch bottom.
Wow, what candor.
And I was wondering if you could put something into my bag from that wall. I couldn't even look at the wall of dildos.
Oh my God,
Something
Pollyanna.
Put into the that bag into my bag. I don't want to see it, but I just want to like put it in my bag, like something for a beginner. And I just want.
He just jams a finger up your ass.
And then I couldn't look at it. I got it home. I took it out. I felt uncomfortable about having a dildo in my home. This is so weird.
Are you like, what are you, a pilgrim? Born
the
again
weird part
Christian?
is-
Like, what the fuck?
This is a long time ago. This is like 42 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's things were different in the Dust Bowl.
So the weird part was I would have sex in public restrooms,
Really?
but I didn't feel comfortable with the dildo.
Were you an exhibitionist or just very sort of free about where you had sex?
I'm against clothing for modesty in theory, but have never done it in practice.
Wait, say that again.
I'm against clothing for modesty in theory.
In theory.
Like
nudism is good as a theory, but not
but I've
in
never
actual
managed
practice.
to do it myself. Hang on, we're gonna get. I'll not segue yet.
You don't have to segue.
The dildo
We don't.
was in the plastic wrapping. I like put it under my bed and was like, oh God. I just left it under my bed to like let it acclimate. Let me
Did you think that
acclimatize.
maybe it would creep out on its own
I was
and find
hoping.
its way up?
Well, all the good ones usually do.
Yeah. And one of my desires to become a bottom was my roommate at the time, Jamie, was a power bottom.
Oh.
And his passion and love of bottoming inspired me. And to want to know what that joy was.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember one day asking Jamie, like, what to do, how to use a dildo.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Ugh, you know what? It's probably just easier if I show you."
Ooh.
Little hands-on.
Let me
Yeah.
undo my pants.
So
Hold
it
on.
became
Walk us through
a
it.
little clinical.
Okay.
Where I was in my bed. Jamie and I had sexual relations maybe when we met, because when I was 18 to 21, that's how I met people, was by having sex with them.
Sure.
On like the gay scene. And
Fuck first, ask questions later.
yeah, it was like a handshake.
Yeah.
Would that be meeting in bars? Or
Meeting in bars, which is all I did between the ages of 18 and 21.
Sure.
Okay.
Bars or recoveries. Or
What's a recovery?
Like a kiki after the bar. Where you
After
Oh,
party?
okay.
Yeah, after party.
Yeah.
I like calling it a recovery.
Dordolanos.
Recovery's cute.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cute.
Yeah. Well, you did nothing that was
Recovery
akin
based.
to recovering.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it should be like a discovery bar or something. Yeah.
And so, but we weren't sexual or sexually attracted, and so it was quite a clinical sexual experience where I laid on the bed and I held the blanket up so like he couldn't see me, and I like an operating
fucking
theater.
gyno prostate
Yeah,
exam or
exactly.
something. There was a sheet.
This is
like a medieval
Jewish
operating
sex sheet
theater.
with a
A
hole
bris.
cut in it.
Yeah.
A bris.
A bris. And
And
so
for the
I
listeners at home, Courtney is now she's demonstrating full on. And
my
her
feet are in the stirrups.
Yeah, her anal opening is on full, glorious, despicable display.
And
buttons have popped.
Yeah.
And Jamie inserted the dildo into my rectum.
Okay.
Yeah.
In an oddly non-sexual fashion, I suppose.
Sort of like a doctor's exam.
Yeah.
Did you have rubber gloves on?
No.
No. Do you have face mask? Lab coat?
No, it was
No?
it was the year 2001. We weren't as familiar with extreme hygiene as we are now.
Okay, sure.
You know, now everybody there's a sneeze guard on
Brian,
everything.
you might still be getting accustomed to
Yeah, I still don't know what this word hygiene means, but I'm learning. Growing.
Please welcome.
Continue. Hygiene. What's the deal with that? Keep going.
And that was the first part of the procedure.
And may I ask, did the whole thing go in? Was it just partial? Was it like an inch,
Just
or was
partial. I think it was like the angle he sort of explained, and like he kind of. I can't actually remember. It was. I don't know whether I blocked it out or he didn't then
go me furiously with it.
Was there any back and forth, or was it just insertion?
I think it was
sort of
more
resting?
insertion and then maybe like left me to my own devices.
Oh, good. He just got you on the bike and you just rode down the street. Okay, that's cool.
So that was step one. Step two. Now I'm going to make an admission here, which may come as a shock.
I doubt it, but
because it's an uncovery of a lie that I've been perpetuating for some time.
You're going to expose.
I'm going to expose myself.
Yeah. Drag her, read her. Yeah.
The Courtney Act patented lubing technique.
Ooh.
Oh, is a falsehood.
It's not a falsehood. What is false about it is that I have claimed that it is Courtney Act's patented lubing technique.
Oh, well, we all know you stole your act from Jackie Beats, so just explain.
I stole my beat from Vanity Fair. My Jackie from Vanity. Oh, fuck. Vanity was the one who told me of the lubing technique.
And which is what?
So when you're putting something in an orifice, right? I would just take the lube and like just slap it around the outside.
No, you got to stick it inside.
Yeah. And I would put it on the phallus,
Sure.
be that animal, vegetable, or mineral, and not animal. Well, no, humans are animals.
Oh God, here we go. Okay, veganism. Here we go.
And
Brought to you by Burt's Bees. Anyway, back to the
not vegan.
Expose Burt Bees. Cast out Burt Bees. Twitter campaign against Burt Bees.
Yes.
And Vanity explained that you should put the lube on your finger, on one finger, and you insert it into the rectum and you rim the sphincter as if you were perhaps like putting lube on the inside of a bottle.
Yeah.
Like a drinking
Or like
bottle.
a ramekin that you're going to make a little souffle in.
Exactly. And so you do that around the inside. Now the sphincter itself is only like yay big. I guess, I don't know if it's like an inch of like depth.
Something like that.
And once you get past that, it's cavernous.
Yeah. Once you get to that second ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second ring. The second sphincter.
Yeah. The
There's
internal
two.
sphincter.
Internal sphincter.
I went to medical school. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not a doctor.
But I should be.
But I play one on television. I'm not a drag queen, but I play one on television.
Yeah.
Then more lube, 2 fingers, put that in.
Yeah.
Run it around again.
Prime the pump.
And once you've like stretched it a little, it's like any muscle of the body. You need to warm up before you sprint or lift a heavy weight. You need to stretch. And once you stretch it, it is then exponentially more stretchy. And it is ready to have objects inserted into it.
Like an ottoman.
Yeah.
Or a rocking chair.
But if you just hit it in sort of a blunt force way or very clumsily, that's where pain happens. That's where the discomfort.
And the kind of pain like no other I have experienced in the human body. I'm not saying it's the worst pain that I've ever experienced, but it is a very specific type of pain. When you have something placed into your rectum without preparation, it is a very long and intense pain. Like most pain, like you pinch yourself and you're like, ow! But then it's gone.
Yeah.
But the pain of having something inserted into your rectum, it's probably a good 20 seconds of like a sustained, constant pain that you think in that time may never end. And you're like, which is why I think anal sex can quite often be something that people think they don't enjoy because their experience of it, whether it be girls or boys, straight men, gay men, whomever, the insertion can be quite painful if it's not done properly. Like, nope, absolutely not. That is not for me. I am not doing that.
Right.
And also, once you're irritating an area of such tender flesh, and then you keep going, you're just aggravating it over and over and over.
Insult to injury, baby.
Yeah.
And the rectal tissue is very fragile.
It is. Contains a lot of blood vessels.
Fragile, absorbent,
and nerves, which is why
Yeah.
it should be a nice payoff instead of something.
And
disruptive.
anybody with anal fissures will tell you, that's a lifelong process.
Anal fissures. Did we see her with Dusty Tornado?
Yeah, at Blue Can Harry's.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was at Big Rigs, but you're right. It is Blue Can.
It was at the Tat Shack, actually.
Oh, you're right.
For
You're right. We got a
Bob.
bunch of ham slammers, and then we went over to the Tat Shack. Yeah.
This is straight people stuff, Courtney. I don't expect you to follow.
G'day. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Bogan.
Bogan.
Now that you said Bogan, and since you're from Australia, I want to get your thoughts on Paul Hogan, if you have any.
Paul Hogan.
So for listeners who aren't familiar,
Crocodile Dundee.
Crocodile Dundee, indeed. And Crocodile Dundee, I was discussing actually with our mutual friend Jake Shears about how that movie. There's a lot of it that does hold up. That's really funny, but there's some shockingly homophobic and transphobic moments.
I haven't watched Crocodile Dundee probably since it came out in the 80s.
Right.
At which time I wasn't aware of homophobia or transphobia, so I'll be interested to go back and watch. But I think in some weird way, Paul Hogan and Crocodile Dundee put Australia on the map,
Sure, yeah.
but
The wrong
not
one.
without consequence.
Agreed.
The
yeah.
wrong map.
Which it created an Australian identity that then became the totality of the Australian identity. Now, if I may, parlay and parallel this into the present day sense
Please.
of RuPaul's Drag Race and the queer identity
Please
in pop
parlay it.
culture.
Sorry, it's Rand Paul's Drag Race.
Yes,
I know
Rand
that-
Paul's
Rand Paul's
Yeah.
Drag Race.
Please parlay away.
Is that for legal
Parlay, you
purposes?
say.
So we can't be sued. Drag Race, when it first started, was revolutionary. And there's this conversation going on at the moment, right? Drag Race has been so commercially successful. It is proliferated across the world in pop culture.
Yeah.
It's on VH1. It's on Netflix. People love it. Straight people are
Sure.
coming to it.
Yeah.
And people are saying, wait, is drag becoming mainstream a good thing or a bad thing?
Well,
And is Drag Race becoming such a representation of the queer identity a bad thing because it is at the loss of other queer identities, and now straight people just think that all gay people are drag queens who wear dresses and flounce around?
aren't they?
Mostly.
Wait a minute.
But there's also lesbians.
What are those? I don't see them on the TV.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
because quite honestly, the most visible people in
No,
the
I know.
queer community right now are drag queens and trans people.
No. Well, what are the common denominators there?
Femininity,
Performative femininity?
performative. Well,
Or not performative.
not performative for trans people,
No.
but for drag queens.
How about visual appeal?
Visual, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the objectification of the female form.
Sure. Transformation.
Yeah.
Dress up. Aspirational personhood.
You know what it is?
What?
It's
Color.
visual.
Yeah, it's TV.
It's visual, and then also the desire of the viewer.
Yeah, but it's visually different to the viewer. So
there you
humans
go,
are
yeah.
used to seeing men and women.
Yeah.
And then they see men dressed up as women. And then they see people who are assigned male at birth who have matched their physical body to their internal gender.
Or on some kind of gender experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is different for the brain to perceive.
Right,
And-
for Tom, Dick, and Harry.
yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is that, you know, the drag is intended to be visual.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And drag queens have always been known to be, whether it was the first brick at Stonewall or whether it was RuPaul's Drag Race being, you know, the probably the most popular mainstream fringe queer something
Probably.
of this
right.
current pop culture time.
Well, yeah, I would say of this one. Sure.
Obviously, we stand on the shoulders of the giants that have come before us.
Yeah. Big, broad shoulders.
Like your Boy Georges, your
Yeah.
Marilyns,
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Dame Edna.
Dame Edna, Pete Burns.
Yeah.
There are many others in Australia and the UK that aren't as familiar in the US, but this is an international audience.
Yes, indeed, it is.
Shout out to Paraguay.
Now I forgot.
Did
what
you
I
lose your
was
train of
talking
thought?
about.
Let's talk about shitting some more.
Well, you're saying that the two main groups
Oh,
that
yeah.
are seen as representatives of the queer community are trans people and the drag queens, specifically maybe from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, which is about gender, not about sexuality as well, which is interesting.
Two different things.
Two different things, mama.
Yes, God.
Oh,
that was good. That was good.
Tandem tongue pops.
Synchronicity.
now available in Dolby Surround Sound.
I'll hard pan that. so
Yeah,
people can
thank
really
you.
enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Ooh. So, how old are you?
36.
36. Oh, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Although you look much older than me.
February 18, 1982.
February 18,
Oh, you're
1982.
an Aquarius as well. I'm an Aquarius. February 14th, yeah.
Do you believe in horoscopes, their impact?
Not
No?
anymore.
Okay.
I used to. I was brought up, like my mother loves numerology and all those sorts of things. And look, I'm going to say something that might seem especially controversial to both of you. Well, I don't know you as well, but particularly you. I
I became an atheist.
We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, I became an atheist.
I'm going to plug my
Didn't
ears
matter
up for
though
a
because
moment.
it's not on the show, so therefore it's not real.
a couple of years ago.
Please talk about this. Is very interesting.
And with that, it became peculiar to me to suggest that every person who was born on the same day, and I know that you can get specific, like you can target times and you can target, and I know that it's got to do with the alignment of the planets, and the moon does affect the tide. And I love a full moon because I feel a little bit crazy. I don't know whether that's confirmation bias, but I think that horoscopes are a lot of confirmation bias where people will read a horoscope and it will they're just looking for things that agree with their own identity and story, and it just sort of like they pick and choose the bits that agree with the story that they're telling them, and then tell themselves that, oh my god, this is totally me. Well, having said that, we're in San Francisco a little while ago, and I did a test where I read out 2 fridge magnets to my friends, one that was Aquarius and one that was not Aquarius. Aquaria.
RuPaul.
Word association games.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that RuPaul is a little bit of a giddy schoolboy when he talks to Aquaria in the workroom?
I have not
Go
noticed
back and roll the tapes.
Okay.
It's an
I'll have
observation
to roll
I've
them
noticed.
for the first time, as I have not been watching this season. But yeah.
We're exposing you again.
Oh,
Yeah.
dragged. I dragged myself before you can drag me.
Yeah. If you can't drag yourself, how in the hell are you going to drag someone else?
Amen.
And I read the 2 fridge magnets, and my friends were like, that one, absolutely. And it was the Aquarian fridge magnet. But to me, I don't know. I also feel that, like, I don't understand the function of reading a horoscope, because by reading a horoscope, you're now no longer going to be living in reality of like accept reality is as not as you want it to be. You're reading a horoscope that's telling you that things from the outside are going to influence your experience, and then you're going to go throughout your journey looking for things to confirm what the horoscope told you.
Right.
So it's like a self-fulfilling
treasure map.
prophecy.
Yeah.
Like a mildly predictive text that then you're imbuing with all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the function of religion and the function of
Stories.
Yeah. But so I guess but I feel like you can't tell people. My ex-boyfriend was particularly atheist and staunch about like horoscopes, and it was funny when, like, I remember playing, what's your horoscope, and he gave me like a real, like, no fun zone kind of answer. I'm like, it's a fucking horoscope, like, come on, have a little fun.
Yeah.
Which I
I'm
think
just trying to make conversation.
Yeah.
Fuckface.
Yeah. Where were you born? What's your star sign?
Yeah.
It is a conversation piece, and
is,
for that I understand, and I normally just say I'm an Aquarian.
I always just tell you I'm a double Scorpio with I say I'm a triple Scorpio.
With an anus
But
rising.
I feel like a Leo. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm an Aquarian with a Leo sun and a Sagittarius moon.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not
cool.
sure I just know I'm Aquarius, and I don't know the other bits because I'd never gotten the rest of it charted out.
Right. Do you identify as an Aquarian? Does it impact how you feel about yourself or how you live your life? Like, how deep down the rabbit hole are you?
I go back and forth. I'll go to it in times of like sort of confusion, but I don't take any real like succor from it. Do you know what I mean?
But there is a subliminal imposition of a horoscope, I think. Like, when you read it, you can't help. And I just read one recently.
Yeah.
Just like to like play around with whatever it was, and I read it and I was like, oh no, and I can't remember what it said now, but I do remember for the next few days I was like thinking like, maybe it is real, and maybe and I was like, and I felt like it influenced me subconsciously in this weird way.
I have stopped reading them recently, and I thought, I'll look it up, and I thought, nah, I'm sort of out of it for a while, so I'll be out of it for a good long time. Although when people describe certain attributes of Aquarius, so they go, that's a friend who's very into the star signs will say, that's so you're an Aquarian. And I go, okay. But then there's something about Aquarians supposedly that are very cold and unemotional, which is not true because I get a lot of eye rolls from Brian.
Yeah, because he cries all the time.
I've cried a lot since doing ayahuasca.
Tell us about ayahuasca, please.
God, none of this horoscope bullshit.
And before that, are you much of a partier?
I was in my youth. I from like 18 to 21, I tried everything to excess.
Yeah.
I tried everything once to excess. Yeah. I was
7 days
I
at a
was a
time.
club rat who stayed awake for days on end and partied and took all of the drugs and the weird part was, it's funny because I talked about this on Drag Race in my confessionals. None of it ever made the edit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exposed, dragged, set up, framed.
But I remember telling the stories,
edit.
and then Mish, my story producer, saying like, "That doesn't sound like you're talking about a traumatic experience, but it sounds like it was a horrible experience. It sounds like it was fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was fucking great."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, I can't." And I'm like, "Well, that's how." Okay, but yes, I did in my misspent youth. I think that I remember being in high school. I was in the what was it called? It was like the student counseling thing, and I remember going to this lecture on harm minimization with drugs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That is cool. It should be at most
and that was in
schools.
like the 90s.
Jesus Christ.
In
We just got,
suburban
don't
Brisbane.
do crack, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like very progressive. And it was like there was only like maybe a couple of us who went to this thing, and then we took it back to the school to disseminate it into some sort of drug education awareness program. And so I think because of that foundation, I was so anti-drugs. For my dad is a naturopath. I was never immunized. I was never. I had an allergic reaction when I was born, and then the doctor sort of said, "Well, we don't know if it was this or that," and so they decided not to immunize me because of the risk of. It wasn't like an anti-vaxxer thing. It was because of a health risk. But I never had an Advil or a paracetamol or whatever, any kind of medical intervention, whether it be over the counter or otherwise. My first like Advil, it was a paracetamol, like an Advil kind of painkiller, was like at age 16.
Holy shit.
I never had an antibiotic,
Wow.
anything like that.
You're a medical mystery.
Yeah.
Cool.
Until
Oh, right.
I made up for lost time.
Oh, by shoveling every known pharmaceutical
In
into
every
your gullet.
orifice available. Sometimes, yeah. I don't in any way want to glamorize a drug use at all.
Or Advil.
Or Advil use.
We are not sponsored by them, so please do not. Yeah.
But I think it is something that people, particularly young people, can come in contact with. And I think that is a conversation that should be had because there's such a taboo around talking about drugs or people acknowledging that they have done them.
Yeah.
And that just breeds isolation. And I think this idea of harm minimization it's like putting condoms in I can't think, like in a gay bar or a bathroom. It's not.
Sure.
You're not saying we want you to have sex here. Yeah. We're saying you're going to anyway.
Yes.
And we'd prefer you to do it with the condom on. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
For your own health and safety.
It's just a general common sense thing. Like, not everyone is going to do drugs, but some of these people are. So if someone is, maybe you should know how to do it and not kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know how to. I just got lucky that I didn't kill myself.
Yeah, sure.
To be fair, and sometimes I think the point was to get as close to dying as possible without actually dying.
Yeah. Walk on the wild side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of dark.
It's a little. It's whatever. It's like a couple bulbs are burnt out on the makeup mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was very dark times, and there was a lot of really fun times. And I don't think that I don't think demonizing drugs or glamorizing drugs is a good thing.
Right.
I think talking about stuff earnestly and honestly and having conversations about what they do and what they mean is important.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's something that I want to do. There's, the laundry list of things that we want to do. But like I make, these videos and put them on the internet about stuff that I want to know more about or know stuff about and think other people might want to know about.
Yeah.
And, one of them we talked about is like meditation and diet. Another one that I want to focus on is like drugs and sort of dissecting each thing and talk about why it's bad, what will happen, and like that harm minimization thing, like giving people information and education.
Right.
and not suggesting that they do them, but I mean, like
You said doo-doo.
doo-doo.
Yeah.
We live in California where marijuana is legal.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? You smoke weed?
I have, yeah. I don't smoke it. Well, I don't smoke as in smoke, but I eat it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What's your favorite type of edible?
The chocolate coated.
What?
I'm a vegan, and I just said that I like chocolate coated.
You fucking fraud.
Expose her.
Absolutely, motherfucker.
Don't you mean the carob covered?
The carob covered.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Blueberries. It's funny because like in California it was never something that I did. I did all of the other drugs, but marijuana was not something that we did in Sydney. It was all about
Interesting.
synthetic chemical drugs.
Okay.
Also, drug availability is wildly different in Australia than it is in LA,
Wildly.
right?
Same in Brazil.
Yeah. Australia is an island, right? So it's not like you can smuggle drugs across a border or anything like that. It's what you can make in your bathtub.
Yeah. Meth
Sure.
is huge in Australia.
Very.
Meth is
And G.
rampant.
Oh,
G.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, big time gay party drugs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, yeah, marijuana was never something that we really did. It was always like, oh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
And it was probably prohibitively expensive as well because of the scarcity, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, not so much. More like cocaine was like $350 a gram, whereas
shit.
whereas
Right.
crystal meth was like $50 for a point, and that would last,
forever.
everybody the weekend kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I came to California, there's all of this like weed culture, and at first I was like, man, this is weird, this is dark, this is like marijuana being like legalized, this isn't right. And then I decided to look into it a bit more and look at the facts, and I actually made a video about I was trying to make a video about something that I thought was topical, and then through making the video I came to learn so much about marijuana and why it is demonized, and why which is when the Mexican Revolution happened, and hang on, let me remember my facts. Not my fax number from the 80s. F-A-C-T-S.
I've been trying to fax you for weeks,
We've been waiting
Courtney.
for facts from the listeners, by the way.
Yeah.
So try to call in or something.
Basically, I know what it was. It was Mr. Owned
Mephistopheles?
the newspapers and the printing presses.
Oh, okay.
What was his name?
Like the Rudolph Hearst of
Ronald McDonald.
Mexico.
Hearst.
Okay.
William Randolph
Hearst. Yeah.
Owned the newspapers and also the printing factories. And so hemp was a cheaper and more viable way to create paper.
Right.
But that didn't suit with the technology that he had. And since he not only owned the places that made the physical paper, but also that printed the news on the paper, he delivered the narrative that marijuana was the devil's weed. And also
right.
when Mexican people started emigrating to the US, they would smoke the plant. They brought with it the tradition of smoking the plant. And it was, brown people who didn't look like us, in inverted commas, smoking this thing. And it was a way to attach, racism and capitalism and everything to one big story and demonize it. Yeah. Whereas alcohol was something that was able to be commodified and sold, and like marijuana is now. And that's probably why it's legal now, because people can make money off it.
Yeah.
And no danger with the alcohol, by the way.
No, it's actually the safest drug of all.
It's the safest and
safest drug of all
is alcohol.
happening inside of me.
Liver cancer.
Do you have alcohol statistics or facts? Like, alcohol is scientifically
the worst.
a more harmful drug than marijuana.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Wildly.
But most people, and probably most people listening, would be like, that's crazy talk.
I
But
was at a party recently, and I don't drink, and sometimes I do other things, like psychedelics or weed. And I was telling this to someone who was like, what are you drinking? And he was kind of like that. What are you drinking? And I was like, oh, iced tea. What? And I was at this big party. And I go, no. Booze doesn't really agree with me. I tried it. It doesn't work. But I like, weed or hallucinogens. And he was like, oh, no. See, I never do any of that stuff. I stick to this stuff. Because, see, once you put something like that in your body, you're not in control anymore.
Well, those other losers can't drive a tractor drunk, but I know how. You know,
Yeah.
like
I'm a good drunk driver.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I'm,
It's like I've only parked the car 15 times on the lawn, but I've never hit a kid. I mean,
Speaking of lawn and alcohol, on Sunday night, I went out in West Hollywood, not with the intention of binge drinking, but let's face it, when you've had one West Hollywood alcoholic beverage, you've already binge drank because they're so
yeah, that's
strong.
true. Yeah.
I organized a Pose viewing party at my home on Sunday night, right? I invited some friends over to watch Pose on FX, which you should all check out just as a side note. It's brilliant. But I got progressively more drunk throughout the day after brunch. Don't remember anything, was blackout drunk, although I'm a very fun, happy, pleasant blackout drunk from repetitive occurrences by all accounts, not my own because I don't remember.
There was that one woman who suffered a stiletto
head
in
injury.
the eye. Yeah.
And I got home to my apartment after hours after I had organized the Pose viewing party to find my guests sort of sitting on the couch enjoying themselves because Rich, my roommate, was there and they're our friends. Mm-hmm. Got through the door. I have a AstroTurf rug in my living room and apparently, I don't remember, passed out face first in the AstroTurf rug, like mid-conversation, just like... And then... one of my friends, Julian, had to pick me up and carry me to bed. It was that thing where you just wake up in bed the next morning and I was like, how did I get here? Why am I naked? Have I been entered? No. Okay.
Oh my God.
Just a little checklist.
Yeah.
Fun little checklist.
Check the holes and then wash off. Yeah. No worries.
And then I was told about that and I was like, wow, that was I mean, I don't know if I had fun, to be honest, because I don't remember it. I don't like to do that. Although I will say that West Hollywood does have extremely strong drinks, and I forget when I come back, when I've been away for so long, that they are strong, and you have to think about your alcohol consumption. In Australia, you can't get drunk for trying in a bar.
What do you mean?
We have 1 ounce of alcohol
and
in a glass.
They measure.
They measure it. You can only get 1 ounce.
Yeah.
You can't. There's all these rules. You can't buy a bottle of wine after 10 o'clock at night, and there's all these.
Well, because you guys are all fucking out of control criminals. Just
convicts,
kidding.
I think is the word you were looking for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Actually, my experience of people in Australia is not that much. But
you had your baby, the dingo ate it.
The dingo ate my baby, and I had to choose, and it was awful.
Yeah, and then,
but
the
UK
dingo,
though,
the dingo did actually eat the baby in the end.
Yeah.
Lindy Chamberlain went. Her husband went to prison. She was absolutely imagine having your baby eaten by a dingo, which is a dog.
Yeah.
And then the whole nation questioning the validity of your story and it becoming a huge national conversation. And then decades later, she was the joke of the nation. Decades later, it was revealed the dingo did actually eat the baby.
She was telling the truth.
She was telling the truth the whole time. And everyone was like, oh, we didn't handle that well. That poor woman.
What did it get, a retraction? One of those 30 pages into the paper, one paragraph.
Yeah.
And by the way, we were wrong.
Sorry
the dingo
about that.
Eat the baby. Go see A Cry in the Dark starring Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
It'll all be sorted out.
Yeah. Sorry, we digress.
But I've walked past the shenanigans in West Hollywood, and the people get turned crunk and lit, but nothing like the UK.
Really?
Oh, they know how to drink.
Oh my God!
And the further north you go, the
Newcastle.
More, yeah.
Oh,
Newcastle, Leeds.
Oh my God!
People are vomiting into their everything,
into their hands,
9:30
and then just
PM.
putting them in their pockets. They are the women. There are girls in these short dresses. Their pussies out, on face down in the gutter by 7 p.m. puking.
The sun is still up.
Yeah, and they're just like, ow! I did not. And I thought that the fucking. You think white trash is trashy, Craig? Oh, mama, you have not lived until you've seen British trash.
And interestingly, at least in Australia, I had never known someone who was sober or in a program until I moved to the US.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
Didn't know about it in Australia.
I wonder if there's any recovery in the UK. It certainly doesn't seem like
it. I think
so. No, of course there is.
Back to your Australian days and growing up. So you said that you became atheist recently. So did you grow up in a very religious household?
No, which is the funny thing because I was never... just the society that I lived in, I suppose, and the imposition of religion, which is quite
it's pretty homogenized in Australia. It's mostly Christian based. There's some Jewish people. There's more Muslim people now, but I wasn't ever familiar with any of those religions. It was all Christianity. I did go to an Anglican school, which I don't know what
is
that equates to here. I think it's like
knows?
what do you name a religion that like a
Episcopalian
Protestants
or
here?
Lutheran, Protestant, Catholic,
One of them, like
Methodist,
a sect of Christianity.
Yeah.
I went to an Anglican school in grade 6 and 7, and I always made me feel uneasy. I would tear the pages out of my prayer book and make
Shove 'em up your
origami.
ass. Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, remember, this is pre the bottom.
Oh, this is
years.
pre-bottom.
pre-bottom,
Sorry,
yeah.
So he would
my
just
bad.
jack off into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, never grew up very religious.
But it was also interesting. I don't. Was it that common for people around your parents' age to be naturopaths?
No, not at all.
I think they like dedicated me to God or something like that. That was the extent of my.
Oh, wow.
Of my, I wasn't like baptized or
Christened.
Christians, yeah.
Is that that's not just where you're given your name, is it? Yeah, I wasn't christened or baptized or
Christening is when they smash a bottle over your head.
Yeah, that's right. And then you set off to sea.
full of holy water.
Yeah. And then you set
they
the high
send
seas.
you down the
Yeah.
river. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, so that's the other thing. Like I still, as someone who wasn't raised religious, was still very much burdened by the concept of religion and felt so much shame and guilt about religion. And I mean, Christianity in particular, but most religions are, fear-based, shame-based, guilt-based institutions.
Right.
And original sin, like Adam and Eve, like it's...
Not Adam and Steve. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Not.
The
Thank you
concept
very
of
much.
sin, we are born in sin, we live in sin, we die in sin, and the only thing that...
Well, it's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh.
It's a little harsh, but you know what? Life is tough.
But yeah, so it was fascinating to like a couple of years ago just be like, you know what? This was the thought process.
Oh, God, here we go.
He's rolling his eyes again.
If God exists...
Why doesn't he save abandoned children?
No.
Why does... Okay.
If God exists, they prefer they. If God exists, they would appreciate me doing due diligence on the subject of whether they exist or not. And therefore, I decided to, like I went vegetarian and vegan, just try it for a week. And didn't need to tell anybody. I'm just going to stop eating meat for a week. And I decided... I was in my bedroom. I remember it quite well. And I was like, all right. And I was really scared to believe that... To believe to not believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't even understand what this means.
So I was really scared at the idea of being an atheist.
Oh,
because
consciously.
if God existed,
Yeah. Denying.
they would smite me.
Oh, sure. Well.
And I thought, no. God would appreciate me doing due diligence. I'll try it for a week, see how I go.
Yeah.
And reassess at the end of that week as to whether I want to continue not believing in God or go back to believing in God.
Yeah.
And the instant that I decided to take that step, I felt a massive separation and relief and release of guilt and shame and all of that. When I just was like in a moment like, this is all that exists, these physical objects. There is no anything else. It was like this weird freedom for me from the bonds of the idea. And I had already identified as an atheist because I didn't believe in the Christian deity or any specific deity.
Yeah.
But I still believed in the concept of like of God, and I would call it the universe.
Okay.
And like that sort of stuff. Like the universe, everything happens for a reason. The universe, and I'm like, nah. No, I'm just like, that's just shit happens. Stuff happens. Sometimes your friends shit in your bed and that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for blaming it on me.
Sometimes the dildo shatters.
Yeah.
And sometimes a human life matters.
If a dildo falls in a bathroom
and no one's there to clean it, do you have to pay rent?
Do you find that was concurrent with your accepting of the gender issues?
No, that was a separate one. It's funny because the gender issue I knew existed. The concept of God and religion and atheism wasn't something that I was aware of was a problem. I was always a seeker.
Yeah.
And always was reading books and consuming literature and
Pamphlets and
pamphlets
such. Yeah.
mostly.
Pamphlets, yeah.
I even
Blurbs
went
on Amazon.
I even went to a there was this woman called Esther Hicks who originated the law of attraction, and she channels a collective consciousness called Abraham.
What the fuck?
Wow.
And I went to Seattle to go to like some 3.5-star hotel conference room to
Is
hear
this a timeshare thing?
to hear Abraham speak.
Okay.
And like I loved what she said. It always thank you. Bullshit.
Yeah, okay.
Like, because I mean, look, this is only my opinion as well. I don't want to shit over anybody else's beliefs.
please.
It's your journey.
You've been plenty shit on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Yeah.
The theme of this podcast is
It's
fecal.
piss and shit.
Piss and shit.
Piss
That
and-
was the original title, but you know what? It's been taken. So
Yeah,
we went to
yeah,
whimsically
yeah, yeah.
volatile.
Yeah.
But what happened was I used to be an optimist. I used to be a positive thinker.
Oh, now you're a cynical jerk?
No, now I'm a realist. No, because I realized that positive thinking and that whole new age way of thinking was damaging to my psyche.
Okay.
And positive thinking isn't accepting reality. Like, you can't, like, positive thinking, like optimism, like, yes, you know, I can do it. Like, sometimes no, you can't, and that's okay.
Sure.
Sometimes you're sad, and that's okay.
Right.
Sometimes you're born with certain limitations, and that's okay. Sometimes you're not going to be pregnant. I'm not going to be pregnant. Sometimes
Wow,
Wow,
you won't be.
projecting.
Yeah.
sometimes you're not going to grow up to be president. Sometimes you're not going to grow up to be an astronaut. Not everybody can do that.
Right. Yeah.
And this whole concept of elitism and positive thinking that tells people that they can be, do, and have anything they want is nice to hear, but I think it's actually damaging ultimately, because you don't have to be, do, and have everything. You can just be you and be enough as you are and accept your reality as it is, not as you want it to be. It doesn't mean that you can't strive for more, but it has to start from a place of acceptance of reality. Otherwise, because I think sometimes people think that concept of acceptance of reality means that you condone
Or
behaviors.
you just take it on the chin. Yeah.
And that's not it at all. You just have to acknowledge it, and then you are free to move forward from there in making decisions about life and such. But you can't positive think your way to anything, whether it's being a millionaire or being famous or just like getting a new car or whatever. What you can do is take actual steps to doing that. And I think the reason that some of those things about the law of attraction do have some psychological merit is because if you're constantly thinking about things in a positive way, you're naturally going to do those things, but it's not that the universe is conspiring to deliver what you want.
But at the same time, if you're constantly being negative about everything and constantly running other people down and like belittling other people's actions,
You're going to get more of that.
Exactly, because you're training yourself how to react and think about things.
Yeah.
I mean, I've found that being enlightened is that it's not that the universe is
Have you announced to your public that you're enlightened now?
I don't really think that it's necessary, because I think the message comes clear. And I think one of
It's so obviously clear anyway, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and one of the truest tenets of being fully and incontrovertibly enlightened, such as I am, is that you don't have to broadcast it because you're not looking to impress anyone.
Is your next album titled Bigger Than Jesus?
Well, see, that's a fallacy, because Jesus was a person and I'm a being.
I thought it was more swole than Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I thought,
Better than Christ.
he's pretty nice, but I'm
Better.
bigger.
No. Yeah, but it's all stuff. People are always looking for, how do I feel better? How do I do better?
And I'll tell you how.
Where am I going to get help? You know, and it's
helps one thing though, but that whole thing of the idea of basically essentially being in denial, calling it positive thinking.
Yes,
that is the massive trap, because I think you do have to think in a positive energy about pursuing the steps.
Yeah,
but the only way to get anywhere is the slow, steady.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Work. Yeah, you got to accept. You've got to think about what you want, and
where
you've got to accept where you are first. You can't positive think your way somewhere without taking action for it. And it is the denial. I think positive thinking can be like a denial that
what's going on is actually going on.
Right. Wrapped in a nice shiny package
Yeah.
of floral language.
Like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Like, yeah, you can. But like,
Well, and there's, I mean, yeah, and there's I was going to say something that didn't make any sense. This is actually my inner monologue through everything.
I tapped into it.
Yeah.
I
This
did.
is my inner monologue.
I got a direct feed.
Yeah, this is. Or the Benny Hill. That's my own.
Coming up next.
Yeah, I've noticed with working out, there's like when you think you can't do something, the capacity for pain and discomfort is always that's a whole different topic though.
well, it's not that you should think you can or you can't.
I just
Is
think
it-
don't think about anything.
Yeah, I think that sometimes thinking can be the
Overthinking.
enemy.
It always is. It always is.
Because when you're thinking about
Sorry, that was an accident.
This is the key. This is the key, Courtney. Forget your fucking You have to put that in a mix for me, Craig.
You better believe I will.
my-
you're going to lip sync to that.
I
next-
am. My
Yes,
lip
yes.
sync. How dare you? I am a trained dancer and professional artist. Capital A-R-T something.
ICT.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt your very riveting
okay.
monologue.
Don't patronize me.
I'll go patronize you though.
Or Patreon.
Patreon.
Which,
Yeah.
It's worked out.
Patreon this show.
Yeah, we actually. Do you mind if I have a cigarette? Is it okay?
Who?
Can I have a cigarette?
Of
please?
course. No,
Please?
my answer is
I need
always
to have
yes.
A cigarette. Quick cigarette break.
Sure.
I was deferring to the guest, you know.
Wait, you? Yeah. Can we have it? Courtney Act, ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
Cigarette is code for I need to talk to the artist about the narrative they're pushing on my podcast.
While we're outside having a cigarette, I just want to ask everyone to please subscribe on iTunes and write a review. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, for those of you who have not checked out our Patreon page, now's a perfect time to go there. Patreon.com/Katya and Craig, and you'll see all of the terrific bonus material we have on offer. Again, that's bonus episodes, bonus listener questions episodes, and also Katya and Craig's Movie Club. All right, now back to the show. Well, we're back from the cigarette.
We're back from the cigarette, and Miss Act does not endorse in any way, shape, or form the consumption of cigarette tobacco products.
No.
She
No,
thinks
you were
they're
chewing
nasty.
tobacco, I think.
She had a
Yeah.
spittoon. She took
I
off
don't
her
get
jean
it.
shorts. It's disgusting.
And it's just addictive.
You know what I think it is, though?
Oh, tell us, please.
This is called a segue.
Okay.
I think that cigarettes
Yeah.
are a form of meditation. Apart from the chemical addiction, it's an opportunity for somebody to remove themselves from their current reality and just focus on the now.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because you are flabbergastingly wrong. Because meditation does not remove you from reality.
No.
It firmly
No.
entrenches you within it.
I'm saying, like, remove. It's an opportunity for the person to
step away, take a break,
and get in contact with the present moment rather than the craziness of what they're experiencing. I remember Jamie, the flatmate that put the dildo inside me. He woke up. He would wake up and like have a cigarette, which I thought was weird. But he was on the phone to his then boyfriend, and they were like having an argument, and he was like blah 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 blah. And it was an opportunity for him to like refocus, reset. And obviously there's a chemical addiction as well.
Well, yeah, I love smoking because it's a break and it's like you just said, but that's kind of a
Part and parcel with the chemical addiction as well. But
yeah, and it's also an unwillingness to sit with discomfort.
Because that's the breaking of the cycle of addiction. You have to sit with discomfort.
Yeah. But, it's fun.
But meditation, I think, is, we're talking about all of this, like, I was poo-pooing, psychobabble, new age talk that I think ultimately can be, it can lead people, especially, I think a lot of that is helpful in helping religious people tiptoe out of religiousness to spirituality.
Yeah.
But I think that, I don't think that's the end of the well, that's not for me to say. I think that that what else that sort of psychobabble new age talk, I think, can be quite damaging. And now what I think is a viable solution from what I have found from my own experience is getting in touch with the present moment through meditation and movement.
Yeah.
And we talked about doing something based on, what did we say?
I think it was the Charleston.
No, it was like the 4 R's or the 4 D's.
Right.
Oh, diet.
Diet, dingleberries and dinglehoppers. Diapers.
It was like meditation, food, and movement.
Meditation, food, and movement. Yeah,
were the 3 things that we thought, we still think.
I still think.
I can't
Absolutely.
speak for you, but I think.
You can speak for me.
That Brian and I think we share a common interest in yoga, movement, fitness, diet, putting good things into your body, and putting and meditation. And for me, I suppose that the concept of meditation, I think for a lot of people might be foreign or weird. They might not quite understand it. For me, meditation and the style of meditation I participate in is called Vipassana, which
Insight.
Yes.
Insight meditation.
And basically all you do is you focus on the sensation of your breath going in and out of your nose. This is called anapana breathing. You focusing on the sensation of the breath going in and out of your nose and the triangle of sensation on your top lip, so you can feel the heat or the coolness or the flow, whether it's going through both nostrils equally or one nostril. You can feel the temperature on your top lip. You can feel the air, the air sort of flows like hitting your top lip, and that's the anapana part. And then the Vipassana part is basically the same thing, but on your whole body, just focusing on the sensations, because the physical sensations of your body are things that are happening right now in this moment.
Right.
And your brain, there's all of this chatter, the monkey mind is jumping around, and you're getting distracted by things that aren't happening in the present moment, because all thinking happens in the past or the future. If you're in the present moment, you're not thinking about anything because you're just being now.
Sure.
And so meditation is kind of like going to the gym for your brain, where you're doing, you're doing weights kind of thing by trying to focus your mind not on the distractions of what's going on, but rather on things that are happening in this present moment, which is like how you're well, let's just talk about the breathing, all of those things, what the temperature is, what the feeling is, and feeling the flow of air coming in and out of your nostrils onto your top lip. Which, interestingly, when I did my first Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation retreat, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to have books, there's no distractions at all. You meditate for like 11 hours a day in 1 hour intervals. It was the hardest and most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. That first one in particular. I've done a few of them, but I remember sitting there, and for like 3 days you just do anapana breathing, and it was like day 2, and I was like, well, clearly my nostrils are arranged differently to everybody else's, and I can't feel the sensation of the breath hitting my top lip.
Yeah.
I'll just have to, I was like sitting there concentrating so hard. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm clearly different to everybody else, and everything that they're saying doesn't apply to me.
Right.
I am somehow unique or different or special.
Yeah.
And
very special.
And I thought, I'm just going to let that go. I'm just not going to bother trying to feel the sensation now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. As soon as I let go to the attachment of trying to find the sensation, it revealed itself to me.
Right.
And then, as clear as day, there were these 2 streams of warm air hitting my top lip that had always been there, but I was just never able to perceive because my attachment was in the way of being able to observe my reality in that moment as it was.
Yeah. You sure it wasn't because somebody was jizzing on your mouth? Oh, sorry.
And so meditation is just about focusing the brain on things that are happening in the present moment, because as you get more into the present moment, you stop thinking as much and you just start being. And you don't need to worry because things just are and things just happen. And so meditation has for me been the most constant and powerful tool, through whether it be that my discovery of atheism or my undiscovery of theism, or eating or life events that have occurred, whatever. Meditation has been the one thing that has remained consistently, like I haven't disproven
the
meditation
benefits of it.
to myself. Now, meditation, just trying to do that for a minute can be impossible for people. And I think that a gateway drug to meditation, if you will, is yoga.
Yeah.
Because yoga is focusing on the breath and movement. And so you've got a bit more, not distraction, but you've got a bit more to focus on with yoga.
There's something to do.
There's something to do.
There's something
yoga.
to do. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's when I went on the yoga, I think walking meditation was always something that I really enjoyed. Now, walking meditation in a meditation like retreat context is very slow, and it's almost it looks like a funeral dirge, a procession, and it's kind of cool, and it's a little weird. You feel like it's like a slowed down kindergarten line or something. The yoga gets you into your body.
Yeah.
It gets you aware of, because a lot of people don't even know how to interpret or even feel the sensations in their body in terms of like cues and how to move this leg into this position and then establish some kind of comfort in a seated position. Some people can't even sit down on the floor, and you got to be able to just sit down. And I think it also feels very counterintuitive to say to a person, what would make you feel better? Not doing something.
Yeah.
But I need a tasty treat, or I need to consume some valuable information, or I need to know something, or be massaged, or some nice visual,
or get a reward.
or get a reward.
Kind.
Yeah. Or I need to complete an activity and then see a very clearly established goal on the other side
and
of it.
instantly gratify myself.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're looking for instant gratification, honey, meditation is going to be a challenge.
And speaking of segues and gratification, this is the end of the regular episode.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to be moving on to some gratification for our Patreons.
That's right.
Yes. So please check in with our Patreon-only listener questions episode. And Courtney, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh.
Shane, whatever the fuck you call yourself, I would like to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking about myself for the last 2 hours.
It's whimsically volatile.